Okay, we're starting on page 625 of the Naaman edition, which is 471. So up until now, we've discussed the daily service of things that we do during the day, different mitzvahs that we do. We started with, we talked about Torah learning, we talked about davening, wearing tzitzis, tefillin, and we talked about how the davening affects different Kabbalistic worlds. And now we're going to move on from the discussion of the daily service that's done to the service that only happens during certain times, right? Because davening and Torah learning, talis, tefillin, all those things we do every day. Now we're going to discuss the mitzvos which happen. They don't happen every day, but they happen during certain times. Welcome. Just saying we're on page 625, which is 471. And you didn't miss much? Just the introduction, son? Thank you, Rabbi Braun. So we just said that up until now, we've been discussing mitzvahs that happen every day. Now we're discussing the mitzvahs that just happen not every day. So let's start. Ha'avoda hazmanis hu mashnis chayvnu bo b'zmanim yiduim. The service that's dependent on time is things that happen that we are required to do only at certain times. Upratam, their specifics. Shvisas haShabbos ukudushaso, resting on Shabbos and its holiness. Right? We don't keep Shabbos every day. That's just once a week. Shvisas ha'asar ve'inuyav, resting on Yom Kippur and the inflictions that we do. Right? Not eating and not wearing leather shoes. That's another thing on Yom Kippur. Celebrating Yom Kippur. Shvisas hayom tov ukudushaso, resting on Yantav and its holiness. Chol Shamoed, Chol Hamoed. That's also a time, right? People think that the intermediary days of Pesach and Sukkot are just regular days, but it actually has a holiness and specific mitzvos which apply then. Chametz matzah bizmanam, chametz and matzah. Those commandments of getting rid of chametz and eating matzah during their times, during Pesach. Shofar bizmano, shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Sukkah v'lulav bizmanam, sukkah and lulav during Sukkot. Rosh Chodesh is also a special day, right? We tend to, for sure, treat Rosh Chodesh as just like another day of the week, but there are certain things on Rosh Chodesh. All these days have an inherent holiness and certain commandments which are associated with them. Chanukah Upurim. And then we have the rabbinic holidays of Chanukah and Purim, which have the same thing. I just actually read, as an aside, another thing. There was an article, I think it was the Jewish Link of New Jersey, was talking about Yemenite Jews. Yemenite Jews had left Jerusalem at the time of the first temple, before Purim and Chanukah happened, and nevertheless they kept the holidays. They were in touch with the rest of the Jewish people, so that they were keeping Chanukah and Purim, even though they really didn't experience it because they were in Yemen. But I guess Purim really would have affected them because, Haman and Achashverosh were going to destroy all the Jews in the entire world, and they probably had dominion over Yemen. But I just thought that was very interesting. Even the Jews that were totally disconnected from the rest of the Jewish people, like the Yemenites, were still keeping Chanukah and Purim. Okay. And if you get a chance, it's a very interesting letter between the Rambam and the community of Yemen, which it's been translated to English. I have it if you want to borrow it. It's very, very interesting. Just the Rambam writing. They were going through a lot of persecutions there, and the Rambam wrote very inspirational things and strengthened them to keep the Torah, even though they were disconnected, and the Muslim leaders of the time were trying to get them to convert, and there was a false Messiah, and they're having all these problems. And you see that, we usually just read the Rambam's halachas, or maybe his philosophical works, but you see his caring in the way he wrote to the Jewish community. It's very inspiring. Highly recommend it. Okay, but now we're going to talk about the different mitzvahs which happen periodically. So the first one, which happens, Inyan Shabbos b'chlalo. Shabbos. We should have done this before yesterday, but just everyone has to remember this for next Shabbos. We already explained earlier. This world is supposed to be mundane and not holy. We explained that, right? We have holy souls and neshamas which are connected to Hashem, which have a drive for spirituality, but we also have bodies which are more physical and have a desire to be in the physical world. And we are put in a physical world. And the whole point of our existence, of a Jewish people, is to sanctify the physical world by not going after the desires of our body and going after the desires of our soul. And that's how Hashem wanted it. Hashem wanted us to be in this mundane world that doesn't have so much spirituality in order that we could sanctify the world. We use the world to sanctify it. I think Rabbi Becher said this, that Judaism is a very sober religion. Right? He might have quoted somebody else, I don't remember. Right? There are certain religions where the whole idea of the religion is to detach from the world and just sit on a mountaintop and meditate all day. And that's all you do. And you don't talk to people, and you fast and you just meditate. And there are other people who live life, they just engage in every physical pleasure. Whereas Judaism says, no, you deal with the physical and you sanctify it. You eat good food, but you eat good food to serve Hashem. You save it for Shabbos so that you can enjoy a Shabbos meal and things like that. You use the world to elevate it. That's the idea of Judaism. So that's why Hashem wanted us to live in a physical world. However, even though God put us in this mundane world, He wanted us to have a connection to spirituality. There should be a little spirituality in the world. In order that the darkness of the physical world shouldn't overtake us. Right? It could be possible that if we just had a physical world with physicality and no holiness, the darkness of the physical world would overtake us and just completely block out the desires of our soul. Vihine, shiara chachma halyona, as kol ze b'tachlis hadikta. Hashem made everything very specifically. Be'ezim madrega tzarich shiachol, in whatever level, in a specific level that needed to be for the mundane. Ube'ezim madrega hakiddush hanosef hazeh, and whatever added level of sanctity we needed. So God made a physical world, but in order that the darkness of the physical world shouldn't overpower us, He made certain places and certain times that have inherent holiness. And that inherent holiness prevents us from being overtaken by the physical darkness. Now, right, in Judaism we have places that are holy and we have times that are holy. Right? Places that are holy, Israel is holier than the rest of the world. Jerusalem, holier than Israel. The Temple Mount, the Azara, the courtyard of the temple itself, the Holy of Holies in the temple. We have different levels of holiness right near the Kotel. And the idea is, in those places, you have an easier time to connect to spirituality, to connect to Hashem. The same thing with with times of the year. There are certain days which have inherent holiness. Shabbos, as we're going to discuss, has an inherent holiness. The different holidays have different aspects of holiness, which make it easier during those times to connect to Hashem. Right? It's very important not to. Almost every shmooze that Meir Shiva gave before a holiday was not to waste the holiday. Right? People sometimes you have off for Pesach and off for Sukkot, and it's understandable. People working all year and they waste the time of Pesach and Sukkot to just go on trips, which is fine. You're supposed to enjoy yourself, but you're also supposed to use that time to grow spiritually, because those times you can grow much easier than the rest of the year. Things that would take a long time to accomplish can be accomplished much quicker during those times. He always said that if you're learning a Torah topic, it's easier to come up with Chidushei Torah, novel Torah insights on the holy days of the year, on Shabbos. You can more likely get those Torah insights, or on Yantiv, or on other holy days. So that's the idea in Judaism. So we have holy places and holy times, so that the darkness of the physical world doesn't overpower us. Because meaning, even though God wanted us to be in the physical world, we still need that connection to holiness and spirituality to overcome it. Okay, let's continue. Just want to make sure everyone's into it. Any questions?
Everyone's awake.
Everyone's awake? Focused? Everyone's focused? Great. Okay, ve'ulam. Mamash is it way. Vulam bebechinas hazman sidra inyan hayamim shel chol v'shel kodesh. So, in terms of times, God made mundane times and holy times. Ubimei hakodesh atzmam madrega zulamala mizuk kvianos. And not only is it just holy and mundane, there are different levels of the holy times. Vihine sidra sharov. We're going to discuss the different levels later. Vihine sidra sharov hayamim yeachol. God set up that most of the days of the year be mundane days, regular, like today, Sunday. And there are only holy days based on what we need. Now, so most of the days, again, because the main purpose, God wanted the world to be a physical world. Now, we only have certain days which are holy. Hashem made that that there be a cycle with one count. That right, the time is cyclical. It's not linear. That we have cycles. He's going to explain. This is the cycle of 7 days. In 7 days, all of everything was created in 7 days. Everything was included in this number. So we find that since everything was created in 7 days, 7 is called a complete number. Since that's what was needed, was for everything to come into existence was 7 days. And more than this, nothing was needed because everything was completed in that time. Omnam, yeah, mispar zeh misgalgal v'holech v'chozer b'sibu ad sof kol ha-sheishes halafim. V'lo'od al shemos kol ha'olam kulo gam hem yishmeru hashir hazeh b'kamas hagadol v'hainu sheishes halafim ve'elef menucha v'achar kach tischadesh havai l'metzios b'seder achar kvi gzera chachma al-yana. Now, just to go back, he's touching on a topic which we covered probably a year and a half ago, that not only is the week 7 days, which is 6 days of mundane, regular days, and 1 day of holiness, which completes it. And that's also in a bigger picture, the way that the world works. We said that all of human existence, the way we know it, is going to be 6,000 years. Before 6,000 years, Mashiach comes. After 6,000 years, it's going to be 1,000 years of the world being destroyed to transform the world into a more spiritual existence. And after that, we get in that period, I think, and after that, we get our reward in Olam, which is called Olam Haba. The world's going to be transformed to the world to come. So even in human history, we have this idea of the 6th and the 7th. Now, why does it take a whole 1,000 years to destroy the world? If you look earlier, Rabbi Naaman quotes another work of the Ramchal. I don't remember him discussing in Derech Hashem, but in his other works, he talks more about in detail why it takes 1,000 years for the world to be destroyed and recreated in a more spiritual sense. But the Ramchal is showing, just like in the days of the week, we have this number 7, so too in the history of the universe, we have the idea of 7. Now, it's very interesting. I think I heard this from Rabbi Feldman. It might have been from the Kuzari, but I'm not sure. That why is a week 7 days now? If you think about it, it's kind of a proof for the Torah, or it is a proof for the Torah, right? Every unit of time we have, in the secular world, you have a year. What's a year? It's one rotation of the earth around the sun. Okay, that makes sense. What's a month? It's about the time it takes for the moon, right, to go around. Why a day? Because that's the one rotation on the earth's axis. But why 7 days? What's that? What astronomical feature does 7 days have? So I think it was the Kuzari writes, the fact that every human culture basically has 7 days in the week for seemingly no astronomical reason seems to show that where it came from is that God created the world in 7 days, and that from the beginning of time people were observing the week like this. I think someone said during, just shout out, that the communists try to make a 10-day week so you could have 8 days of work and only 2 days of rest, but it didn't happen. But it's just interesting from the fact that you look like, it's like a simple thing, but I never thought about it before. Why does the week have 7 days, right? Every other unit of time has to do with astronomy, but not the week. So you see, really, it's coming here from how God created the world. Okay, let's go on a little bit. That's okay.
Could you just recap what this last paragraph was? I didn't get it.
Oh, he was saying that the number 7 is a unit of completion because that's how God created the world. Everything in creation was made in 7 days, and after that 7 days, nothing else was needed in creation. And he says not only do we find the idea of 7 in the week, but the way God made the universe, it also has the idea of 7, that there are 6,000 years where we are in this world as we know it, and before the year 6,000, Mashiach comes, and after that, Hashem reveals himself, and then at the end of those 6,000 years, God recreates the world in a more spiritual sense, and that's the 7th, which is a holy time, and then we get our reward in Olam Haba. But the world as we know it, the mundane world, just like you have 6 days in the week, we have 6,000 years of the physical world as we know it before it comes to this new holy type of world. Clear? Yeah? Okay. So let's go on a little bit until let's go on. Did I read this already? Yeah, I read this. Now, the idea is the end of the cycle, it becomes holy. Right? The end of the 6 days is the 7th day, which is the day of holiness, and the end of the 6,000 years is the 1,000 years of holiness. That elevates all the other days of the week, because if your whole week is going towards Shabbos and all of creation is going to this new spiritual world, that elevates everything leading up to that. Even though 6 out of 7 days are mundane and 6,000 as whatever. Okay, I'm not sure how that works about the world of creation, but even though 6 out of 7 days are mundane, since it's all leading to a holy time, that elevates all the days. And that's what we need for this world, like we said. The whole world becomes rectified through this. So that all the days of the week all the days become sanctified. V'hinei, zu matana gedola shenasan hakadosh baruch hu Yisrael. This is a great gift that Hashem gave to the Jewish people. Leo sheratza shielo am kadosh, that we should be a holy people. V'lo nasan al sharu klal. Shabbos was not given to the rest of the creation, the rest of the people, just the Jewish people. She'ein hamayla hazos ruya v'lo miyuedes lahem. It's not prepared for them, right? It's very. You would think. So what are we commemorating on Shabbos mainly? The creation of the world. That applies to every human being. Yet Shabbos was only given to the Jewish people. It says even a non-Jew who sets a separate Shabbos. But only Jews have Shabbos. Because even though Shabbos, the idea is that we are commemorating the creation of the world and that we're resting on the seventh day. Nevertheless, the idea of Shabbos is that it's a sanctity that allows us to connect to Hashem and that we elevate the world, and that's something which is only relevant to the Jewish people. So even though one idea of Shabbos really applies to everybody, it was only given to the Jewish people because the holiness and the sanctity that happens during Shabbos, which elevates the entire week, is only applicable for the Jewish people. Now next week we will continue about Shabbos, and he's going to talk about more about how it sanctifies us. But the idea is that even though our job is to live in a mundane world and to sanctify it, Hashem gave us holy times that we could utilize that really will impact our whole week. Because the main idea of everything is to connect to spirituality, so that we didn't become overpowered by the physical world. Living in a mundane world where we have to work and do not holy things, not just to live life. So God gave us Shabbos and other holidays and holy times to elevate ourselves and to work towards. The end.